Fans, I'm Josh Jaywitz-Wittenkeller. I'm here with Kyle Pooka Sukovic. We just finished a pretty exciting game of Pokemon trading card game action, and we already have one player who's guaranteed himself a slot into day 2. Yep. As we go through today, pretty much any player that wins is going to find themselves all of a sudden sitting into the real championship rounds.
Yeah, congratulations to Daniel. That's a huge win. You know, you go 5-0 and you advance right to day number 2. That's got to be a big confidence booster. You don't lose a game in the first day of the World Championships, and now you're heading on to day number 2.
And I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure for a player like Daniel, who's done so well last year.
Yep.
You really want to have a repeat performance. It's something that's really hard to do. You know, you have an excellent tournament at something as prestigious as Worlds, and you want to do it again. Passing through day 1 with really flying colors is the way you want to start it.
Yeah, and a really smart deck choice as well. So let's go over to the Pokemon TCG Online and take a look at Mega Manectric EX, another card that's been really popular lately.
Such a smart deck choice. We weren't even ready for it. You know, it's not a very popular archetype at all. How often do you see Mega Manectric Genesect?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen one of those, but
maybe early in the Manectric days, people sort of paired it, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I remember when Mega Manectric first came out, people were like, oh, finally, Genesect has an answer to Pyroar, and Pyroar seems like such a distant memory at this point. We don't see that hardly at all in competitive play.
We probably won't see it, but then again, this is Worlds. You can't rule everything out. Yeah. The Mega Evolutions have really sort of stopped Pyroar in its tracks.
Right, so Mega Manectric EX, I mean, at first glance, it's really not an overwhelmingly powerful card. 210 HP, that's below average for a Mega Pokemon. You usually see at least 220, 230. Of course, the Primals have 240. So 210, kind of on the lower side, but, I mean, just enough to avoid knockouts from some big attacks. Turbo Bolt doesn't do an overwhelming amount of damage, 110 damage, but it gets a lot of strength from its type, having just enough HP to survive a lot of attacks, and being able to accelerate energy with Turbo Bolt.
Yeah, and that damage is still nothing to laugh at. 110 is enough where it can usually set up a knockout on the next turn, versus something like the Virizion EX is only dealing 50. That's much, much less. You're not usually setting up knockouts here. You can at least realistically do it. And just being able to accelerate as many energies as you had to attach to do the attack, that's really extreme value.
Yeah, and Mega Manectric EX just kind of is in the perfect spot, has a lot of little things going for it that make it good. Lightning type, very good against Mega Rayquaza EX, which happens to be weak to lightning. Turbo Bolt would do 220 damage, which is just enough to knock out that popular Pokemon.
I'm seeing a big blink spawn at the bottom of the screen. 0 retreat cost.
Yeah, that's also pretty big, being able to retreat freely between your Mega Manectric EX. And also, kind of an overlooked aspect of this card is the resistance to Metal type. Metal type decks have been really popular lately, and being able to take 20 less damage is a big deal from something like Heatran or an Aegislash EX or Dialga EX. There's just so many of those Metal type Pokemon where taking 20 less really goes a long way.
And that was one of the things Daniel sort of brought up to me. He's like, well, I could have ran the Virizion Genesect, but if I do that, I sort of just fold to some of these metal decks. They just deal too much damage. This at least gives you a fighting chance. You can absorb a hit, and then you can dish it back.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes Mega Manectric EX so great nowadays is Rough Seas. The Stadium card, we really haven't seen a Stadium card this powerful in terms of how much healing it can do, really ever.
It's insane healing. We had like a Worlds promo that you heal 10 damage from all your Pokemon. This is triple that, and it's potentially all your Pokemon in the right deck build. But even in Daniel's deck, he didn't run a water Pokemon to abuse the healing. Just being able to heal 30 per turn on your Mega Manectric is pretty big.
Yeah, so we see a common strategy is you'll take a hit with your Mega Manectric EX, has 210 HP, it's likely to survive an attack. Then you just heal 30 off, retreat to another Mega Manectric EX, attack with that one.
And you can do that because it's got free retreat.
Yep.
Got a bit of everything.
The next one, after you attack, take some damage, you heal damage from both of them. Send up a new Mega Manectric EX, and it can create this situation where if your opponent isn't doing enough damage, they'll actually never be able to knock out Mega Manectric EX because you're just healing so much and rotating between them with free retreat.
It's funny. It's such a terrifying card, Rough Seas, but it's actually a pretty calming effect.
Yeah.
Just heals everything.
Right, so Mega Manectric and Rough Seas been really popular choice from players. Just really great against Seismitoad EX, which really lacks in the damage output department. Quaking Punch does 30 damage. You heal 30 damage with Rough Seas, and also get rid of their Verbank City Gym. So with so much HP, being able to heal at damage, it's really good against Seismitoad EX, which has been dominant this whole season.
Yeah, and that was another one of those choices with Daniel. You know, he could have ran the Virizion, which some might say is the greatest Seismitoad counter because of its water resistance and things like that. But by switching out to Manectric, it's not like he loses a ton. It still has an incredibly good Toad matchup.
Right, and unlike a lot of other Mega Pokemon, the regular EX is also really good for Manectric.
Yeah, we're starting to see that lately, where if there is a Mega Evolution capable EX, the basic stage is normally, is bad too strong to say? It's normally pretty bad compared to other
much
EXs.
Weaker.
Yeah.
But Manectric EX is a big exception. We actually see some players not even playing Mega Manectric EX and just playing the regular one because it can be so versatile.
I've seen like Manectric Seismitoad's pretty popular.
Right.
Not even the Mega Evolution. Just Assault Laser is a really good attack.
Yeah, Overrun, I mean, it's not the greatest attack in the world. Does 20 and 22 benched Pokemon. But
Hammerhead Jr.
Yeah, but as we saw in the match we just watched, this can be used plenty of times to set up for knockouts later. Just one energy. It gives you an option, another strategy to approach the game with. But Assault Laser can provide some pretty big burst damage. 60 plus 60 if your opponent's active Pokemon has a tool card attached. So sometimes if your opponent has 120 HP and Turbo Bolt won't knock it out, you can actually just Assault Laser and knock it out.
Huge against Rayquaza too, because it's lightning weak.
Yeah.
And they're usually going to have a Pokemon tool attached if they wanted to get that real quick Mega Evolution out.
Right. Now, the build of this deck we usually see these days is paired up with Garbodor. Garbotoxin, of course, just an extremely disruptive ability because it shuts off every other ability. So just combining the speed of Mega Manectric and shutting down your opponent's abilities has been really popular. Just think of how many decks rely so much on abilities. For example, those metal decks without Bronzong's Metal Links, they can't really do anything. We've even seen Kling Clang pop up, which is really, really bad for Pokemon EX. But when you have Garbodor, it's all of a sudden not so bad.
Yeah, and it's definitely a popular choice. I've seen all kinds of Garbodor. Seismitoad likes Garbodor. Manectric likes Garbodor. Basically, any Pokemon with pretty cheap attacks really loves having Garbodor.
Right.
But you can also splash other Pokemon. Maybe go for a more aggressive route, like we saw with the Genesect EX.
Yeah. We will take a look at Genesect EX in a little bit, but again, kind of a more standard look at this deck. We have seen Empoleon featured quite a bit. Water-type Pokemon, covers your weakness to Landorus EX, just attacks for 1 energy, really easy solution.
Yeah, it kind of use Rough Seas if you need to, and you do get that Empoleon out using the Archie's Ace in the Hole.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most unique cards we've had in a while. You get to just take a water Pokemon from your discard pile and put it on your bench. It can be anything. It could be a Stage 2. It could be an EX. It could be a Primal Kyogre EX if you want.
This card flabbergasted me. It's, most enthusiastic Pokemon players, they'll look to Japan, who's usually maybe like one set ahead of us when it comes to cards coming out. So you look ahead, you read the Japanese translations, and you're like, okay, they probably mistranslated it. Archie's Ace in the Hole probably just meant put a basic water Pokemon. But no, there was no mistranslation. It puts any water Pokemon. It can be a Mega. It can be an Evolution. And so that's how sometimes you'll see this Empoleon with no Piplup, no Primplup, RIP Penguins, because you could just go straight to the top.
Yeah, and Empoleon has been a pretty solid card as long as it's been out. Attack Command, pretty solid attack, does 10 for each Pokemon in play. Diving Draw can give you a little extra card draw if you need that. But again, mainly used for the type coverage since we do see Mega Manectric struggle with Landorus EX quite a bit.
Yeah, and we got a glimpse of that in the last game. That weakness to lightning is the resistance to lightning is really huge. Just buffers the damage that you're able to output. But Empoleon can usually knock it out in one hit because it's weak to water.
Right, so of course, in the game we just watched, we saw Daniel use a different partner. So go ahead and jump over here and